Obviously, something had to break the window. Something had to hit the stereo.
And why is the carpet all wet, Todd?
I don't know, Margo.
Welcome to the VHS Club. We're already having fun because A, it's the holiday season. Sorry if you're listening to this in February. You're just going to have to ride along with us. And B, this movie has all of the best lines. So if you don't like Christmas Vacation, we'll see you next week because we're gonna dive into it this week.
Or rewatch it.
Rewatch it. Give it another chance. Give it another chance.
I have to say, as an adult, having grown up, Todd and Margo are now my favorite characters.
100%.
Whereas when I was a little kid, I was like, they're the villains. They're so ridiculous. But now I'm like, I love everything about them. I love their aesthetic. I love the furniture. I love the color palette of their house. And who the fuck fucked up their CD player?
I know.
Who had a CD player at that time? Maxwell House.
I was gonna ask if that's what it was. Was it a CD player? Was it a? Okay.
It was. There were CDs.
Okay.
Those were legit CDs in the clip.
Well, I couldn't tell because it could have been a CD player or it could have been oh my gosh, now
record?
wasn't record. You're right. It was like a what were like the before DVDs called that were like that came out in like
tape
was it
cassettes.
like no laser? Was it laser discs? Was it a laser disc player? Wasn't that a thing that like existed in between? Or was that just an early name for DVD player? Okay.
That was CD player. Not
Okay.
DVDs. CD.
Okay.
Compact discs. Which
Compact
a
discs.
laser goes whoop, 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 and when your CD player breaks down, it goes I know I just triggered a whole bunch of people who know what I'm talking about. The younger generations, congratulations, you skipped this trauma.
Yeah, you skipped a lot of trauma. I still think that this moment of the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, Todd and Margo are the lovable next door neighbors of the Griswold family, and in this particular scene, a piece of ice goes flying off of the Griswold house because Clark is terrible and goes right through the window of Todd and Margo's house and hits their CD player or laser disc or whatever player, hits it, and then it melts because it's ice and now it's warm inside the house. So they get home and they have no idea what happened. And I remember thinking then, and definitely thought again now, like, this would be the perfect crime. Like, you would have like
A nice bullet.
Yeah, you have like no way to prove like what it is. It's like, it's so strange that I'm like, wow, really like perfect. I don't know, perfect level of chaos. I think my favorite thing about this movie is that as a kid, I thought it was hilarious. Like everything about it is because it's got the appropriate level of just like slapstick absurdity that I loved as a kid and still love as an adult. And I don't think it like is as common in today's movies. Like I feel like there's fewer and fewer of these like slapstick, just like silly, ridiculous, absurd humor movies anymore. But the second thing is that like as an adult, it's like still as funny, but like from a different perspective where you're like, yeah, that's accurate. Like, it's like not that far off from like you, like everyone, I think, as an adult or even as a kid, knows a Clark Griswold who just goes like way crazy over the top in Christmas. And like, and if you don't, then like, someone that's like working their way up to it. Like there's a level of Clark Griswold in us all. But
I have to say one thing that was a little haunting about this movie, which I know it's a funny movie and there should be nothing haunting, but
don't take us down, Nat.
It takes place in the 80s, and it's, I guess it's kind of around coming out of a massive global recession. So it's like the 80s had this whole like, there was office Christmas parties and big like galas and Christmas bonuses didn't exist in our life growing up. We just knew our parents had that at some point, and then when we hit the workforce, disappeared. The whole like snafu over his Christmas bonus turning into like a coupon or a Groupon,
a jelly like, jam and jelly of the month club membership for a year enrollment, which I would have been excited by. Just saying, like if anyone wants to get me,
I would have preferred like a $50,000 bonus. But
can we talk about like what we think the amount of his bonus is? Because I get like Christmas bonuses every year and have for the past like, but not to this level, because he like. He puts down
put in an indoor, like not an indoor,
an in-ground pool,
an in-ground swimming pool, and having done that, I can tell you, it's in the tens of thousands. So if because like, I'm gonna have plenty of money to put in a swimming pool, to fly us to Aruba, not just me, but all of our extended family, and get all the most expensive Christmas presents possible for all my kids and my wife and my brother's kids, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, it had got to have been at least, even in 89 when this movie came out, it had to have been in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Well, because he does say, I think you're right, because he does say at one point that the down payment on the pool was like something like $8,500. Like he had already spent $8,500 that he didn't have. And I was like, wow, I don't think I've ever gotten a bonus.
I'm just saying, I'm like, $85,000. I'm like, that's what it was, a down payment.
$8,500. $8,000.
$8,500. Yeah, 8,000. That's what my brain was like. Subtracting zero, but
that's like $8.5 million.
Maths are so good.
Maths are
my
really
brain.
Good. This might be why neither of us gets a bonus this big. It's a math situation.
Yeah, but, no, where's Dane? Dane is good at the maths.
Yeah.
I'm
Dane
not so good at the maths. But still, it like honestly, like his pool deposit seemed pretty average to me as somebody who mistakenly renovated an in-ground pool. Don't ever do it, guys. It's not worth it. Find a lake nearby and go in a pond. No. But yeah, it was a lot of money. He was making a lot of money. I mean, they had a pretty big house too. And even just the amount of lights he was putting up. And there was a joke about like, I don't want his electrical bill. And how like when he finally lit the house, which I love, was this sort of like madcap farce kind of moment where it's like, he couldn't figure out why the lights wouldn't light up, but the main switch wasn't on.
Yeah.
In the shed where they had the extra fridge, which I'm like, how is the extra fridge on if the main switch is off? But regardless, every time somebody would go in to get something from the spare fridge, they would turn the switch on, the lights would go on, but he wasn't looking. And it was, anyways, I love a farce kind of moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I know. It's funny. So Dan's hanging out with us in the live studio audience. So shout out and hey to Dan. Dan says National Lampoon has a very Canadian sense of humor. So see, Dan thinks that it's because he says, I see them existing in the same multiverse as the Mackenzie brothers. Yeah, I feel like the Mackenzie brothers could be neighbors.
To be very honest, SNL. Okay, so this comes from like an SNL background, this movie, right? This is one of those SNL movies. Yeah. SNL was made by Canadians. I apologize if that offends anybody, but facts. And it kind of came about from a Canadian series called SCTV, which has, if you go look it up, it has a lot of people you're going to be like, oh my God, they're amazing. They're hilarious. They're Canadian. It's like, yeah. And SNL, the creators of SNL actually were Canadian, but they just, brought it to New York, and that's where it became famous. And that's where we get all of these kind of movies like Christmas Vacation and Night at the Roxbury and Superstar and so many more.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it does. And one thing that SNL consistently, even to this day, does is they always have a good hearty stock of Canadian writers and comedians. Shout out to Bowen nowadays. Love you. He's one of my favorite comedians, and now he's on SNL. I'm like, but yeah, so that's a pretty apt and very observant comment to make. Thanks, Dan.
Well, here's my first fun fact of the evening for this episode, because it connects in some way, I think, to like the conversation of how flamboyant and ridiculously well off all these main characters are. So the director originally for this movie was supposed to be Chris Columbus, who you will remember from Home Alone fame, as well as like almost
like Home
every
Alone.
Yeah.
No, you know what? We're not going to go there.
No. So
Let's say I have beef with Harry P. Twilight.
Let's not talk about the newer
ones.
ones. Yeah. Let's stay in our lane now. We're going to talk about 80s and 90s.
Columbus, love him.
Old school Columbus. So apparently
hate him.
Yes, Chris Columbus, not Christopher Columbus.
Okay, continue.
All right, so Chris Columbus was originally slated to be the director of this particular film, and I guess unsurprising to anyone that is keeping up with modern day news, Chevy Chase is like a complete asshole and is incredibly difficult to work with, which is a huge bummer because he's really funny in this series of movies, at least my personal opinion.
Oh, his movies used to be amazing, but he's a terrible human being now.
He's apparently, even at this point, was like incredibly self-centered and really difficult to work with. So Chris Columbus at the very beginning was like, hey, John Hughes, writer of this film and every amazing 80s and 90s film. He was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. So I guess he pieced off the film. So Chris Columbus didn't direct this one. This was directed by a completely different, fairly newer director whose name off the top of my head I don't remember. But so Chris Columbus ended up, because John Hughes felt so bad about the entire situation because he loved Chris Columbus so much, he basically gave him Home Alone to direct, which was this other like crazy successful, like still one of like the biggest, I think one of the biggest Christmas movies, if not one of the biggest movies of all time. Huge shout out to Macaulay Culkin, who just got his Walk of Star.
Yes. Yeah. And
Walk of Star. That's not a thing. Star on the Walk of Fame is what I meant to say.
But I think so my Canadian brain exploded because Catherine O'Hara was there when he got his star on the Walk of Fame, and they kind of inadvertently or very organically recreated that moment between Kevin from Home Alone and his mom, and Catherine O'Hara, who played Kevin's mom, and Macaulay Culkin, who played Kevin. And they recreated that moment, and I'm like, my Canadian heart is just sobbing because this is so wholesome and beautiful. Loved it. Anyway.
But I feel the point of me saying that, in addition to it being just like an awesome epic fact, there's so many good facts about this movie, so we will go through all of them.
The director was Jeremiah S. Cheschik.
Okay, so that guy, fine. Really super fun facts about him. But Chris Columbus ended up directing Home Alone, which is another iconic Christmas movie, and both written by John Hughes. Both take place in Chicago. Home Alone was actually filmed in Chicago. This one was not. It was filmed in Colorado and California.
No, but he did wear Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, they're both, because all John Hughes movies take place in Chicago. But I do think that it's just, maybe it's a John Hughes thing, because that's another like movie that has so many memes about like, what does Kevin's dad do? Because like same thing, like their house is like gigantic and they're able to afford like all these flights for their entire extended family, and they like have everything, and like they're
It's like
is he a drug dealer?
In their early 30s.
Yeah.
Why do they have so much money?
Yeah, why do they have so much
it
money?
It is very different times, but I think I vaguely, and I'm pulling on some sort of ancient thread in my brain right now, that I feel like John Hughes had picked this sort of upper middle class to portray.
Yeah.
His
because like
his movies.
16 Candles is the same way. Like all of his movies have these like kind of well-to-do families in upper class Chicago neighborhoods.
Even the dichotomy in like Pretty in Pink and like and some kind of wonderful like and The Breakfast Club. Now I can't stop saying John Hughes movies. No, but I think I vaguely remember him saying that he had done that because it gives him the freedom, like it gives his characters the sort of financial freedom to just express what it is to be a person, or to be like, say, a teen going through that teen growth, that teen angst and those growing pains. And it gave him sort of the freedom to have his characters express how they're feeling emotionally, as from instead of being bogged down by reality, their society, their economic standing, their like it gave sort of an emotional freedom to his characters. I don't know that I'm right on that. There's this, again, prehistoric 80s thread in my brain that I'm tugging on that feels like that. It's something I've heard before. Anyway, so these people are stupid rich and they're complaining about getting less money this Christmas. Yeah. Whereas I'm like, some of us are like, groceries? Shit. They're really expensive.
They're really expensive right now. Yeah, no.
I'm like, okay, so to the point of groceries, one of the very funny scenes in this movie is it's very madcap. So they're planning to have an at-home intimate Christmas, but all the extended family is coming. The in-laws from
big
both sides
old
are coming.
family
the grandparents,
Christmas.
like the grandparents are coming. The cousins show up. The brother-in-law who shows up in his very like creepy, terrifying, dirty RV shows up. Like everything is going wrong. Like everybody's showing up, and Griswold is just trying to keep on a good face. He's like, this is going to be the best Christmas ever, regardless. Yep. The turkey ends up being forgotten in the oven and dries out, and when he cuts into it, it does this like
it just like disintegrates, moment
where it's like dust because it's so dry, and it's so funny, but. In a recession like today, I understand. I'm like, if that happened to my turkey, I would bawl my eyes out. Like, and I'm like, cook the turkey upside down. Best mistake I ever made, because it gets all the juices in the breast. But pro tip for Christmas: cook your turkey upside down, breast side in the juice.
I mean, Clark Griswold, so throughout the entire, and this is like his character throughout all of the vacation movies, of which this is the third. So there is, and I'm gonna get it wrong. There's the vacation, is it just Vacation is the first one? Shoot, and now I can't think of the second one. And then this is the third one. This is the only movie within the Vacation series that isn't actually a vacation. Like they're on vacation, I guess, but they're home.
Well,
they're not going anywhere. Maybe it's European. It's the I think it was regular vacation, European vacation, and then Christmas vacation was the order of them. Yeah. But Clark, like in all of these movies, and particularly in this one, starts off like super optimistic. Like it's going to be all fine. He just wants the family to be all together. He's like the traditional, and maybe this is not the tradition. Maybe this is just like my dad and not everyone else's dad. Write in if you're watching and let us know what your dad is or was like. But with my dad is definitely not as crazy as Clark Griswold, to be clear. But he loved the idea of like the all together family. The like he's like all in for like, let's all spend all this time together and do all these things without realizing like how difficult and crazy they can get, right? So like Clark does freak out at the end of this movie. He's on a progression of going from like, it's fine, it's all gonna be fine, it's getting worse, but it's fine, it's all gonna be, and then he's just like, not fine. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna be fine.
Yeah. No, my dad was Griswold in the sense of like, the slicking of the bottom of the flying saucer.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that was my dad. Your dad, I feel, was more safe in that sense, which seems odd to say out loud.
Yeah,
But
no.
I'm like, my dad was like, the kids will survive this perilous situation on a toboggan hill. It's like, this is going to be so much fun for me. Like, shoot the kids down there. I'm going to wax that sled.
No, my dad loves a road trip. So that like, and loves the idea of everyone being all together. So like he would have rocked that, but I feel like he would have remained calmer. But I do say like every time that my dad and I watch this movie, of which it's been like a bajillion times, although we haven't watched it recently together, so we'll have to pick that one back up. But this, right? But the scene where Clark just loses it at the end, and he just like goes off on this crazy, sweary, adjective-filled rant about like how much everything sucks and is horrible, whatever, on Christmas Eve in front of the whole family and everyone. Yeah. When he finds out that his
accurate, though.
It seems really accurate, and that like we like the two of us could just not stop laughing about. And I read one of the fun facts from this movie is that in that scene, so you have Clark, and he's just like going off and like he's losing it, and he's just like yelling things and all kinds of words. I guess it was like somewhat done ad hoc, but Chevy Chase didn't want to like completely ad-lib the entire thing. So the family, the actors who are playing like the family, and if you remember this scene, or if you just rewatched it like Nat and I did, Clark for most of it is facing the family, so you see the family's backs and then Clark looking at the camera. And I guess the actors playing the family were holding cue cards that had crazy adjectives all over them. So if you look really carefully while he's doing this scene and freaking out, you can see his eyes kind of like darting back and forth as he's reading off all these crazy things, which adds to his mania. But I thought that was just brilliant. And I think
like also the 80s was the white party decade. So I'm like, I feel like that was why he needed cue cards.
Yeah. Oh yeah, probably. Who knows? I mean, as we said, Chevy Chase is like, even though I think he destroys it in this movie, he's definitely not the most likable person.
He was historically known as a comedic genius.
Yeah. I still think he is. He's just problematic. Yeah.
He's done too many drugs. What little gray cells he has left are fried, right? Like, not an excuse, just the facts, right?
Just a fact. Dan says that if Clark Griswold was a real father and this was a reality show, CPS would have been called 30 seconds in. Yeah, he's like not the most like reliable. He's like so incredibly overly optimistic at the sacrifice of his family, like for the first half, and then just off the deep end in the second half. And it's
love the
wonderful
scene when he gets locked in the attic because like one of the mother-in-laws or the mothers or grandmothers is just like, oh, it's chilly in here. Why is the attic open? Which I don't know if it's just my area, but like we don't have attics with like pull down stairs like that.
I haven't. Well, I don't anymore in this newer old house. I don't, but my last house did. Yeah,
I was gonna say my area, Canada. Katie in Boston.
Yeah. Boston has the pull down attics.
We have it's just like it's a crawl space, so there's like a piece of plywood over a hole in the ceiling that's in somebody's closet in one of the bedrooms. So you just move aside and hoist yourself up,
and you can't really like store stuff up there, like maybe, but like you're risking things falling through.
It's not a storage space in Canada. It's a ventilation. You know, like it's airflow. It's air. It's, you know, there's engineering shit that's involved with that, but nothing was stored. But I do love that he gets up there and it looks kind of like my kind of attic where you don't store shit, but there's stuff stored there. Yeah. And he gets locked up there, which I'm like, how is there no way to get back down if the stairs are pushed back up?
Yeah, that part I don't.
What? But I do love
that part. I don't remember.
And the turban, and like I love that outfit. I'm like, that's goals, to be honest.
So that
when I'm a grandmother, I want to look like that
goals
at every holiday.
That scene actually. So two fun facts in that scene. There are so many good ones, everyone. So if you haven't watched this movie, or if you have and you really love this movie, we will drop after we're done recording. We'll drop all of the sources in so you can take a look. But so many like weird and wonderful facts, but two of them from this particular scene. The first is that this movie, the only reason that this movie was made is because John Hughes actually had a short story that he had written that was this, like, that were just like Christmas moments basically. And it, oh shoot, now I should have jotted these down before I jumped on, but the name of it is the same. I think it's like Christmas 59 or Christmas 56, something like that. It is what's written on that slide reel that he looks at. So that's the name of it.
Oh, that's so cute.
And then while he's watching his like Clark Griswold family home Christmas movie slides, what have you, in the attic, the photos of that house are actually the house from the TV show Bewitched. So they just like wedding so it's really like kind of fun, like the little, I guess, Easter eggs that are within this movie, and there's just so many of them, and it's really fun to read all of them and then rewatch it because it's just like a different level of of fun and really sweet. Doc is saying that he had a pull down attic like that in his room at his grandma's. Yeah, so my last house had the pull down like that, although I don't remember if it would like lock if I was up there because I just never. And it wasn't the one that like.
To be fair.
Yeah, we never really
Should've,
wanted to try that.
hindsight.
It also wasn't the one that like the ladder on it kind of like folded up into itself, so it wasn't like a lot of these movies when you pull it down it could like come shooting at you and slam you in the face in these like slapsticky movies.
Right?
I did not have that kind
Like,
of
that's the movie thing.
I did, yeah, that would definitely I'm hoping feels like more of a movie thing and less of a
I mean, gas stoves are a movie thing, but like
yeah, I have a gas stove still too.
Hydroelectric.
Yeah, you live in a hydro in a electric.
Yeah, Canadian.
In a Canadian electric world.
Okay, can we talk about the cat/squirrel situation with the tree?
There are some great fun facts here. So go ahead now. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so you see the cat eyeing the tree, and it's like as it's like, yeah. So if you've ever had a cat, hello to all the cat people. You know that
Cover your ears,
unless
cat
you
people.
instill the actual fear of every god into your cat, they're gonna take your tree down. Facts.
Yeah.
They're gonna take it down. Katie and I, when we lived together, our cat Hitchcock, she definitely had taken a tree down more than once. But eventually, because she was definitely smarter than all of us, learned that we really didn't like it. So she put up with us and never took the tree down again. But there was a good 3 times that she definitely destroyed all of our ornaments. So when the cat gets fried, and I know it's horrifying because I am an animal person, it's kind of funny because the cat's chewing on the wires. Very accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little exaggerated because I've had cats chew on the wires before and it didn't fry them, but so it was funny. And then the panic when the family sees the squirrel run up the tree and they're trying to get it out. I'm like, that is every cat owner who has a Christmas tree up.
All right.
Yeah.
So here, let's give 3 facts on this one because there's just too many good ones. But so fact number 1, the cat is brought to the house wrapped up in like the great aunt. I think she's a great aunt, whatever you want to say. She
aunt.
I know. That makes fun of me.
No, it's totally acceptable.
I've changed my terminology. Yeah, I've changed my terminology. All right, aunt. It's wrapped up in a package. So the woman the actress that plays that character, that was sadly her last movie. She was 89 when she was in that role, but she was the voice of Olive Oil and I believe Betty Boop.
Yeah, she was actually a famous actress.
Crazy famous actress. So that's fact 1. Fact 2, the scene that you love so much of the cat getting fried was originally taken out of the movie because they were really concerned that people would be like absolutely horrified and upset. And John Hughes fought to keep it in the film. So props to John Hughes for being just wonderful all the way around. And then the third fact, so the squirrel.
Mae Questel was the actress.
There you go. The squirrel, in this scene, they had hired a trained squirrel.
She was Betty Boop.
Betty Boop. Yeah.
Betty Boop.
That's what I just said, right? Did I say Betty Boop? She was Betty Boop and Olive Oil in Popeye.
I heard Olive Oil. Didn't hear the rest of it.
She was Olive Oil in Popeye and Betty Boop. Yeah. Wicked famous. But so the squirrel scene originally was supposed to be this like choreographed scene with a trained squirrel and like a squirrel trainer, I guess, on site. And
Okay.
and the day before they were supposed to shoot that scene, the squirrel dropped dead, which I know is horrible, but kind of awesome. So they just brought in like a random squirrel. So the amount of chaos that you see in that scene is brought to you by the fact that the squirrel died and they were just doing the best they could, which is fantastic. Yeah.
It's so funny. I love all animals. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge animal person. I'm like freaking that Disney princess with all the animals, Aurora. But oh God, that's
this
funny.
This one doesn't get the like no animals were harmed in the making of this film. They like don't have that.
All the animals were harmed
in the making of this film. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that one's pretty epic. Oh my gosh, like every single this movie is basically just a series of Christmas moments and vignettes that are so absurd and yet completely relatable. Like they're just like slightly more extreme than what you would probably go through at some point in your life. And if you haven't yet, it's on the way. It's coming. It's coming for you.
I wonder if the scene where he's in the department store looking to buy something for his wife, he's at the perfume counter.
Oh yeah, maybe that one's a little counter. Hopefully that's not a thing in your world, but
okay, so that to me, I'm like, so that's where Love Actually got it from.
Oh yeah, fair. I haven't watched that one in a while.
I'm maybe. Like, so Alan Rickman is a piece of shit. Not really. His character in the movie Love Actually, which harmed me so emotionally that I'm like, Alan Rickman, I don't know if I can love you anymore.
Yeah.
no, he's amazing. Did he pass? Okay. I do this thing, guys. Let me tell you. I do this thing where I'm like, I get the sense that somebody has died, and I'm like, that sounds crazy because I'm crazy. Where I'm like, like Mickey Rooney died, and it's like, and then it's like he hasn't, but then like a month later he does. And
so we're okay because Alan is already gone, so we're not cursing anyone.
Okay, good. So I haven't cursed anybody. I've done that to Tim Curry by accident. I was like, because
Don't do that to Tim Curry.
I had thought he had passed, and then I heard he had a massive, like, irreparable stroke, and I was like, oh, wow. See? I did that thing where it's like a month later he dropped dead, and I'm like, oh, he's not dead. he's still with us, thank God, Tim Curry. We love you.
We love you.
Anyway, so the Alan Rickman, it seemed very, I mean, I know it's supposed to be funny. He gets taken in by this, like, saleswoman who is the same age as his daughter, basically. And he sexualizes her, and he thinks he's like the cock of the walk, if you will, and but he's not. And I wonder
it's so
if that
awkward,
led to that sort of Love Actually scene.
Maybe we'll have to add
that
one
always,
to
like, in
rewatch.
rewatching it, I'm like, I wonder if that's how that scene came about, if it was inspired by this, even subconsciously, because I'm like, it's very, very similar scene.
Yeah.
But it was impactful.
Yeah, I feel like that whole scene could have just been totally taken out of the movie and I would have been fine. That's just my but I mean, the thing about, like,
they do that little shout out to Fast Times at Ridgemount High.
She comes back later, which was like one of the
in
facts.
His fantasy. Yeah.
It was like one of the facts in one of the articles, and I was like, really? Did people not like the fact was like, did you notice that the woman who was at the lingerie counter was in his dream later in the movie? And I was like, did anyone not notice that? That was like a pretty obvious like callback. It was like not that much after that moment. Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, although I will say, and since Doc is watching, he can appreciate this now. Now I have like a different feeling. But there's like a few, so the Meli Kalikimaka song plays while he's having this like fantasy, and every time that I hear that song I like immediately think of this movie, and now I like immediately think of this movie and I'm like, I should visit Doc. And it's like this very
like,
weird
I have that
Hawaiian
on vinyl. I'm like, I have the original like record, great Christmas album. I love it. I'm like, is that something we listen to all the time at Christmas? Very 80s of us, yes.
Yes, yeah, it's a solid choice. Makes me want to do Christmas in Hawaii.
I do have a ukulele, have not been able to learn that song. I'm pretty terrible at the ukulele. Have only learnt Erasher's Little Respect, which
Not a bad
why?
choice.
I don't know. It's a great song. I love it. Why was that the one song I know how to play on it? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I love a good ukulele.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now I have that song in my head, and it's going to be there for like.
It's going to
at
be there
least
for a while. Yeah,
day,
that one,
a
I
week.
will say, every time that I watch this movie, it's immediately. So this one is the only one of the vacation movies, again, that is not about an actual like traveling vacation. And also the only one that doesn't have the vacation theme song in it. It has its own like Christmas vacation theme song. But the second this movie starts, that song is like embedded deep within my soul. And I just hear it for like years on repeat. Like,
It's such a good song.
it's such a good song, and it's got like the fun little like cartoony like ridiculousness of it. I could just watch like the intro of this movie on repeat for hours. I don't know exactly what that
Okay,
says
can
about
we
me,
talk
but-
about them cutting down the real tree for Christmas and like traveling like out of province? I mean,
State.
translation out of state to like go cut down a
Could
tree.
be other
I'm
problems.
like,
They
so
don't even
I
cut it
had-
down, to be clear. They dig it up, which is like even more preposterous. Like they like with what, their hands? Like I don't know.
Impossible. Impossible.
Yeah.
So I've had pets my whole life. We've
Yeah.
always had dogs or cats or guinea pigs or hamsters or budgies. We've had loads of pets of all kinds. So we were never allowed to have a real Christmas tree. I feel like it was
I have tons of
probably-
pets and I have a real Christmas tree. I feel like your parents lied to you about this situation.
I was just gonna say that. I'm like, I feel like it was they just didn't want to deal with the fall of the pine needles from the tree. I
It
feel
is
like
annoying.
they just
I'm with you.
wanted to clean up, and I'm just like, yeah, I got gypped, but. Anyway, so I have a fake Christmas tree. So this whole going to cut down a real Christmas tree, I'm like, if that was part of my Christmas ritual, I would hate Christmas more than the Grinch. Like, are you kidding me? Are you like, you have to go to the forest, you have to go with an axe and a saw and probably a hatchet if you're going to be safe. And you have to, how long does it take? I know how long it takes to take down a pine tree in the forest. I've done this at my cabin in the woods. It's as creepy as it sounds. Like no, I'm not doing that in the cold. What's wrong with you? Is it just me?
No, so we
City girl.
I had a fake tree the entire time I grew up, like you. And I think part of it is just like our parents grew up in a generation where like all these things were really novel as well. It was like microwavable
70s and
dinners.
80s, like-
Yeah, it's like it was really cool.
Instant mashed potatoes.
Yeah,
Not just
all
for
that.
astronauts. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Really exciting. So we always had a fake tree, and then when I got married, Dane's family always had real trees because he's way fancier than me. So we always did real trees and have done real trees since we got married. But we've never, I don't think ever cut down our own tree. We've like gone to places where there's been like someone
I
to
would
cut it
love-
down for us. And there's also
do.
like, and we also go to like this one place where like it's a tree farm and they bring in all of the trees and like the burly men are there to like help lug the tree and put it on your car and help you out. Which I mean, Dane could probably do most of that himself, but
Of
but
course,
yeah.
he absolutely could. He
So I
can be
like
burly when he wants to.
I like
but
the like
do you
going and
want to?
choosing the tree. Like I like that aspect of it, but I agree that going out into like the middle of nowhere for like a long hike and then having to cut down a tree would be a lot. Doc is saying that he cut down trees until he was 11 or 12, so I'm not surprised. I guess it's not a thing in
Okay.
Hawaii probably now. Yeah, don't cut down trees in Hawaii. That doesn't sound good. But yeah, no, that part is wonderful and just like sets up the entire movie. And like that again is like such a and again, maybe this is just my dad, but this is a my dad experience to like a more crazy degree. But like my dad is like the king of teaching people lessons when he's driving in the car and someone is like being crazy. So Clark just like freaking out about the driver that's going like absolutely crazy is like very accurate to me. I'm just like, oh yeah, no, here, like this was totally my life as a kid. It's like being in the back seat and my dad going from being like super friendly, fun dad to just like, I'm gonna teach this guy a lesson. It's like, okay, here we go. Yeah, just like absolutely Absolutely epic. So our live studio audience is so Dan is heading off to get the girls to bed. Night, Dan. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Night, girl.
He gives us one 3. He prefers Vegas Vacation. Bold move, Dan. All right, you can still hang out with us.
Ethan Embry, to go back.
Ethan Embry is in.
Ethan Embry was in Vegas Vacation, right?
Ethan Embry's in Vegas Vacation. Here's another fun fact for everyone that's keeping tabs. The 2 kids in all of the vacation movies are always different. And in this particular vacation movie,
iconically,
the kids are awesome. So the kids are like what would become fairly famous actors, but they're actually, if you notice, they're reversed. So in every other vacation movie, the son is older than the daughter, and in this one, the daughter is just older than the son.
It's
and like
Juliette
noticeably
Lewis.
so. Yeah.
Juliette Lewis, who's iconic, and Galecki. What's his name?
Johnny.
John Galecki. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely.
He was in Big Bang Theory fame, Roseanne. If you grew up in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, but yeah, it's so funny because like this one is definitely my favorite of all the vacation movies. Although I love all of the vacation movies, including the what I think is the newest remake that doesn't even have Chevy Chase in it, but I love all of them. Like, I just think they're all funny.
Chevy Chase in it nowadays.
Yeah. It's Ed Helm is in the newest one that I'm thinking of, and I think it's probably at this point like 10 or 15 years old. But even that one I love. But this one's definitely, I think, my favorite. But I totally did not notice that the kids' ages were just like reverse. And Juliette Lewis is like significantly taller than this one, so she's like just like very much looks older. But
I mean, if you think about it, we're like a few years apart from our brothers, both you and I.
Yeah, it just was like, all right, whatever. It's a family.
We were significantly taller than our brothers until like that sudden overnight when they're over 6 feet tall, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like
it also speaks,
we're
I think
5'8", we were always taller than you, and now like stop.
Yeah.
Why are you taller?
I think it also speaks a little bit to like how much Chevy Chase and really Beverly D'Angelo carry this film, like that it's like whatever. The kids are kind of irrelevant. Like they could be played by anyone as long as they fit the role of who the kids are. And even like the kids' personalities are kind of different in each one of these movies too. No one really seems to care.
Her teenage was so good.
Yeah.
Like her that pubescent female with everything, she carried that perfectly.
Oh yeah.
And Galecki with his sort of preteen, just everything is still super fun, but he's almost a teenager kind of thing. I think they actually were really good in this.
Oh yeah, I think they were really well cast. Again, so
but
this is
I have to say is one of my favorite.
Yeah,
characters.
Beverly D'Angelo is fantastic, and again, throwback. She's she's also in Casper. So
I was gonna say,
yeah, she's like the.
We're not watching Casper, by the way.
No, we're not gonna watch Casper. You're on your own if you want to watch Casper.
You guys will wean us down eventually, but I'm I had rewatched it last year, and the emotional
I
trauma
rewatched it this year.
I was like,
it's a lot.
Horrific to bring. The only thing I wanted Katie to rewatch Casper for was to see her daughter's reaction to Devon Sawa.
Yeah, which was everything.
Real life Casper. I mean, that's every pubescent girl needs to see Casper turn into Devon Sawa. Just facts. But yeah. Which again, Katie's Scarlett was oh my god. I was that's right, girl. You got it.
There you go. Well, shout out to Elaine who's hanging out with us. Elaine says that we're awesome. She's having a long drive. Well, safe drive. Thanks so much for bringing us along with you. If you are listening and you're like, who are all of these people? These are the Tater Tots, and they're hanging out in our live studio audience, and you can always hang out with us. We hang out most Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're on a Wednesday tonight because the only tickets that I could get for the Nutcracker were on Thursday night, and I really wanted to go take the kids to see the Nutcracker, so I'm doing that tomorrow night. So thank you for being.
Where are you seeing the Nutcracker?
Oh, in Boston.
In Boston? Oh my god!
But I will say, I slightly.
Natalie's dying over here of jealousy.
Well, I was a little late. It's not as awesome as you think, Nat, because there's 2 performances of the Nutcracker in Boston. One of them, which is what you're thinking of right now, is the Boston Ballet, and we are not.
No, but
We are too late to get tickets for that one. They were like, ha ha ha, you want to sit together?
They sell out in, like,
$9,000.
August,
Yeah.
September. Like,
Yeah. So I didn't.
I'm like, if it's in Montreal and it's not sold out by August, who are we kidding?
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't get in on that one. But but we are going to see another version at the Wang Theater, which is, if you're silly, a ridiculous name for a theater, but it's going to be absolutely fantastic because I'm excited.
I was like, oh, is it in Chinatown? And you're like, that's ridiculous. Wang, Katie.
I told you I'm in my slapstick era right now. I'm in my I'm living in my slapstick vibe. What else can we say about this movie? I feel like we've covered the getting of the tree. We covered the crazy. Oh, you know what we didn't talk about, which if you're listening in the live studio audience, please throw in your guesses for this. Okay, so there's a scene. There's, I think, just one scene where Clark Griswold goes into his boss's office to drop off a Christmas gift, and his Christmas gift is the same shape. It's like, you can't see this if you're listening, but it's like, it looks like a long box with like a short box on top. It's like a Tetris block, and every gift in the office is that same shape. And I'm like, what is the gift? What is the gift?
Convert it into, okay, never mind. Continue.
No, I want to know your guesses. I want to know everyone's guesses.
If you invert the long box with the short box on top, but if the short box is on the bottom and the long box is on top, is it a pleasurable item?
I feel like that would be inappropriate for a boss, Nat. You'd be fired for that even in the 80s.
Or you would get a bonus. Like, maybe to ease your boss's tension.
True.
I don't know.
True. Well, let me know if anyone else has any thoughts. I spent probably an hour trying to think through what I thought might be in that, and I could not come up with a single idea. Like, I was just like, but like, it's almost like a shoebox, but like with another box on top. I'm like, what? I don't know. What would you get? Bosses. He's like not even a nice boss. Oh, fact that I did not notice until recently, into this time around. I told Nat because I was just so excited by all of these facts. But the boss in this movie who's receiving all of these gifts is Bill Murray's real life brother. And I was like, Bill Murray has a brother? Like, in my mind, Bill Murray has no family. He's just like an icon that stands alone.
Single entity.
He stands
that lives
alone.
on his own.
Yep.
He has no, like, he doesn't have a manager. He doesn't have PR.
No.
He doesn't have a agent.
He has a Bill Murray. We should just do an entire episode on Bill Murray. Bill Murray has a old school answering machine, or at least did up until recently, an old school answering machine.
No, he does.
And a landline phone number you can call.
Yeah.
So, like, even if you are the most famous director ever and you want Bill Murray in your movie, you leave him
he's like, okay, I'll call you back.
Yeah.
That's legit real life Bill Murray.
But he has a brother, and his brother was in Christmas Vacation, and that just blows my mind. His
brother was the boss.
Yeah. And if you look at him, you're like, oh, yeah. But it just... Yeah.
I like Doc says that it was a desk
organizer.
I'm pretty sure my pleasure item is probably a better idea as a gift, but
yeah, because
his wife seemed like she definitely could use it.
Because this is my you can't see this if you're listening, but this is my desk organizer. It's like, it could be like that shape. Yeah, right. It's mine spins. It's like cube-like. So that might be it. It might be it.
Mine,
I mean, if it was me, it would be a mug, because that's what I get.
This is mine. It's a tin wrapped in string that is painted. It's artistic. It
is very artistic. It's much more artistic than anything I have.
I didn't make it. My aunt made it. She was very artistic. She was an artist, a genuine artist.
Dan says it's a life-size Tetris piece. Look, I have mine is a mug with my name on it. That's my closest one. I would have gotten a mug. So in my mind, it's a mug, but I like the desk organizer. I'm like, yeah.
Or a pleasure item.
All right, so hang on. I got to go through in my mind. Or it's a pleasure item. I got to go through all of the facts to make sure I didn't miss anything. I think I caught most of them. Oh, I was gonna say, and this has come up a lot in a lot of episodes. I feel like this is like a throwback connecting force in many of the VHS Club episodes. But Leonardo DiCaprio was actually up for the role of Rusty, which is mind-blowing. Like, I feel like he's like the backup or was just the actor in literally every movie in the 80s and 90s. Like every fun fact
Well, I
is
mean,
like
he was
Leonardo DiCaprio was the actor.
He was a child actor that was
Yeah.
hustling or quite hustled at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think he kind of more hit it in the early 90s, but
Fleshlight. Stop it, you guys.
right, Doc?
Stop it.
Yeah.
Life-size Tetris piece. Good guess, Dan. Doc says, Mr. Shirley, like all bosses, got pen and post-it containers made of nice wood or leather. It's very true. Guess what all of you are getting this year? It's the Mr.
You know
Shirley
what?
gift.
I still love a good post-it and a post-it dispenser. Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still use I have a post-it app on my phone, which isn't made by Post-it. They really missed out. Like
Someone else was like, we got it.
What are you doing, Post-it? Don't be Kodak, okay? Like, oh. So, the premise of the movie, just to recap, because we didn't
now that we've
that,
talked about it, it's just Christmas vignettes. We talked about it.
Was a successful businessman hoping to get a Christmas bonus to provide extra luxuries for his family, has a very unexpected, stressful Christmas, and tries to make the best of it. And really just gaslights his neighbors, which is kind of my favorite part. Like, so it's Juliette Lewis Dreyfus,
Julia
or
Dreyfus.
Elaine.
Yeah. Yep. From Seinfeld. Not Friends, Seinfeld. Yep.
Did I say Friends?
No, I said Friends. No, I'm good.
Okay, I'm like, my brain doesn't work. It doesn't, but that's besides the point. No, okay, so Elaine and so Margo and Todd. Oh my God, they are so funny.
They're incredible.
I love them.
You can buy, which I'm very sad I have not yet purchased. Maybe this will be like my post Christmas for next year purchase. Is the you can buy like matching quote unquote ugly sweaters that are like the quote. So it was like, why is the carpet all wet, Todd? I don't know, Margo. And I'm like, why don't I have these? That line is
matching sweaters, please.
That line is fantastic. Goals, absolutely. That line's, and then the other line I like, and I see, I'm not going to be, it's one of the ones I can't do word for word, but it's something along the lines of, I was telling you this before we jumped on. Clark and cousin Eddie, who we haven't talked a lot about Eddie, but he's fantastic.
Oh, he's kind of hilarious. We hate him because he's disgusting. He's trailer.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I have nothing against trailer parks.
Yeah, he's like the epitome of the cliche,
though. He's a
though.
Disgusting person and has an RV, and he's super gross about everything. So it makes you think poorly on trailer parks when really that's not a fact.
Yeah, but my favorite moment is when he and so Clark and cousin Eddie, who is uninvited but randomly shows up. They're in the living room and they're talking. And
oh my
Clark,
God, when
Clark
his
is
daughter, like basically guilts Griswold into buying her more presents.
Yeah.
What
So
a
Clark is like feeling all the feels about the fact that his like perfect family Christmas is starting to get ruined and his like craziness is starting to come out, but not fully coming out yet. So he says to his cousin-in-law, he's like, "Can I get you anything? A glass of eggnog, some food. Can I take you on a short drive, leave you for dead?" And I'm just like, and I totally butchered that quote, but like everything about that is just so wonderful because he says it's so like,
that very dryness. Too,
yeah, it's like
that.
very dry and calm. And even if you weren't paying attention, which Eddie is never paying attention, you would not have caught it at all. And it's just like everything you want to say to people that drive you absolutely crazy and just out loud. And it's fantastic. And as a kid, I thought it was fantastic. As an adult, it's even better. I
love that. That's actually probably my favorite.
It's that one or it's the Margo line. And I don't know. There's so many. This movie is very quotable.
At the beginning, where they deroot this tree and bring it home, and it's obviously way too big for their house. And the neighbor's Todd, he says, "Hey Griswold, where are you going to put a tree that big?" And Griswold says, "Bend over and I'll show you." And then Todd is kind of offended, and he's like, "I wasn't talking to you." Looking at Margo, which I'm like, I love it, and they're so offended, rightly so. But
rightly so.
I love how offended they are in this movie.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. Well, we're here at the end. We only have a few people hanging out with us because I changed the night. But if you are here, so Dan thinks that this is not his favorite one. He's a bigger fan of Vegas Vacation. And Dan's favorite Christmas movie. So if you're joining us now, let us know your favorite Christmas movie. Dan's favorite Christmas movie I have not yet seen. It's Grumpy Cat Worst Christmas Ever, which feels like I need to see that one.
I haven't seen that.
All right, so that one's on our list. We'll have to see it. Dan is also a Hallmark movie fanatic. All right, so we're in on all of those.
Yeah,
with you, Dan.
I do like an occasional Hallmark movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I have recommended a couple to Katie that weren't actually Hallmark, but they're sort of like a Hallmark After Dark.
That should be the name of the series.
For our
Hallmark
listeners,
After
I
Dark.
just winked. There was one called The Trouble with Mistletoe. Watch that one. It's great. It's like Hallmark, but with boinking.
Hallmark, but naughtier. I like it. All right. Well, I'm going to swing on over since we have less people here today, but we can hear their comments as they come through. What are you thinking, Nat? How many potatoes does this one deserve?
Because I love Christmas so much.
I know Nat doesn't really enjoy Christmas. So
That was dry. Okay, so what I don't enjoy about Christmas is how stressed everybody gets, because there's so much pressure, especially for adults, to pull off like Griswold. Like, he wants this perfect Christmas because that's what everybody he feels is that's what everybody expects, and he wants to deliver that, and he puts this pressure on himself, and everybody kind of has that pressure. And I have this. I messaged Katie. I was putting up a Christmas tree at my brother's last weekend, and my sister-in-law was telling my brother he was doing the lights wrong and he had to take them all off and re-put them on. And I'm just giggling hysterically into my eggnog, which was topped with a whole lot of brandy, because I'm like, oh my God, childhood trauma. Because our mother used to do that all the time. And my brother and my dad were really quick at getting away before we'll take the lights off and do them again part.
Yeah.
So now that my brother has to live that with his wife makes me super happy. So things like that is why Christmas isn't my favorite holiday. Whereas I prefer things like Canadian Thanksgiving, where we just get together and eat and drink a shit ton and celebrate the harvest moon. You know? It's a little less colonizer. No, I mean, it's still very colonizer, but anyway. But yeah, no, that's terrible. All of that to say is I do, Christmas is not my favorite holiday. I like most of the others more than it. So Christmas Vacation, when Griswold is very, very stressed, I feel very, yes, I see that. And I understand that. And that is why Christmas is not the best.
Yeah.
So I give it 4 taters.
All right. You give it 4.
3. No, I lied. I'm like 4 out of 10. We don't do 10 taters. We do 5. So that's 2. That's 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5. All right. Nat gives it 2. Doc's at 3. Dan's at 3. Dan appreciates you as a person whose holiday is overshadowed by Christmas in perpetuity. Perpetuity. Wow, I couldn't say that word.
Love you, Dad.
Since I'm in charge of rating and I adore this one, I went with 5. But we can edit. Let's live edit because that's who we are, right? So we'll.
You said 5.
All right, fine. We'll go down.
No.
Oh, look. Wait.
Oh,
there's a half.
There's
a half. Oh, there's a half. All right, let's do 3.5. 3.5. Elaine co-wrote a song called "Christmas is Annoying," so she can relate.
I need this song.
Elaine, you'll have to send us a song.
Link.
Just for
Send
Nat.
us a link to the song. We want to put this up on our page.
We support
awesome.
this song. If you haven't seen our page yet, we actually officially have a website. So those of you who have been following along, big fun updates in the world of the VHS Club. So we are almost at our 1-year anniversary. We started in January and we've done pretty well. We've only missed like a few episodes. Almost entirely my fault. It's like me bailing on things because of life. But we've carried through. So we've done like almost a year full of episodes, which is really impressive. And before we reached our year, we got a .com. So we're thevhsclubpod.com. And like and it looks good. Thank you, podpage.com, for helping us with it looking good. But it looks absolutely fantastic. So I'm like really excited by all of it. And if you want to like see past episodes and be able to leave reviews, and you could leave voicemails, which no one has done yet, but I'm really excited by. So
Come on, Doc.
We tested it, so
voicemail.
it works. We know it works. So if you want to leave us fun voicemail, this is the place to do it. We obviously love any kind of
Doc
reviews or
can
feedback.
do that,
or
movie review voice.
Yeah. Oh, I
bet
have it.
Doc can do the movie review voice. So
I
he
have
can leave us
it.
the voicemail like,
Oh no, maybe I don't.
this summer's blockbuster.
Oh, Doc, I have it. Oh no, here. Okay, it's here. All right, hang on. Let me turn it way up so we can all hear it. All right, ready? I have this one from Doc, but he needs. I clipped this from another episode. So Doc, if you're listening still, you need to redo this for us. But here it is for all of you.
In a world, Kate and Nat sit down, drink wine, and talk about 80s movies. In a world, Kate and Nat sit down, drink wine.
I won't play it all the way through, but
Amazing.
it is super good.
There's a whole other octave in my voice there. Love it. That's amazing.
So if you're as cool as Doc, you could leave us a fun voicemail that's not even anything like useful other than you just saying clips that we can use in the show. The potential is huge. Oh my goodness. Well, all right. So we're at the end of the episode and we have not yet picked next week's movie. So hang on. We gotta look at the calendar, Nat, because we are big believers in the fact that we have to do. So here's what we have to talk about. Let me flick through the calendar. We have to do Die Hard, but it is our tradition to do Die Hard on Christmas Eve. So we need to think this through because Thursday the 21st is the closest to Christmas Eve. So we could do it then, but then we'd have to rewatch it before and then again on Christmas Eve. We could do it on the 21st and then do a like live video clips, or we could record clips of us watching it together on Christmas Eve. We could do it the following. I don't know if we want to do a live show on Christmas Eve, so because you never know how we're feeling.
How much nog are we going to have had?
How much nog we will have had on Christmas Eve. So I don't think we want to do Christmas Eve.
Die Hard 21st.
Okay, so Die Hard's the 21st. So that means that we have. All right, so we just have next week. So what's our next week Christmas movie? We could extend Christmas into January if we wanted to, but it's your pick. So many choices.
Yeah. Little tidbit about me is my mother's family is Ukrainian, so I'm half Ukrainian. And we used to celebrate Christmas on January 6th was Christmas Eve and January 7th was Christmas Day. But because of World War III-ish, we've now started celebrating it on the 25th, but technically January 7th is Christmas Day for me.
So we can extend out. All right.
We could extend Christmas to January 7th.
I think we extend it.
In my mind saying, let's extend Christmas. Who am I?
So that means we get 2 more picks. So we have next week's pick, which is yours, and then we're doing Die Hard, which is for everyone. And then the following week we can do a mutual decision. So what are we thinking?
I mean, I love the classic made-for-TV Muppets Christmas.
Ooh, Christmas Carol? Okay.
Okay. For shame.
I love the Christmas Carol one. Okay.
It's so much better.
All right, so Muppets Christmas. Okay, I'm into Muppets Christmas.
Which the only reason I still have that is because my dearest friend Luba had put it from Betamax onto a CD for me, like a DVD for me. That's the only reason I can still watch A Muppet's Christmas. It's like, it's elusive and it's gone. So I don't know if that's a good one to necessarily watch. I mean, we need to watch The Grinch.
Yeah, maybe we do.
And maybe A Christmas Carol, because that was made in the 80s, though it takes place in, the 50s?
Which Christmas Carol? There's like 50 different versions.
I mean, who did not get a Red Ryder BB gun in the 80s for Christmas?
Oh, Christmas Story, not A Christmas Carol.
A Christmas Story.
I was like, so many Christmas Carol versions. Okay.
What did I say? No, A Christmas Story.
A Christmas Story would be a good one.
A Christmas Story, because I'm like, when we were kids, like, I double dog dare you. You're gonna put your eye out. Like, everything comes from that. You know what? We need to do it.
I propose this, friends, and we'll see if we pull this off, but I'm proposing this to Nat and the Tater Tots. We do A Christmas Story next week for our Thursday normal episode, And if we're feeling adventurous, which I think we might be, we'll do an extra episode that is a combo of the half-hour cartoons. So we could do Grinch, we could do Peanuts, we could do Muppets if we find Muppets. Yeah, we could do like a.
I can find you guys Muppets.
Kid.
Maybe
we
it's on
might be able to find it. Yeah, we'll be able to find it. I'm in on finding it. I probably have it on DVD.
I mean, maybe we could just like, can we message Disney and be like, hey, dudes.
Yeah.
My dude.
Yeah. So let's do a. Oh, we're getting
Most
some
way possible, my dude. Can you please put out a Muppets Christmas again?
Yeah.
Unvault that shit.
Exactly. My dude.
Fraggles were in it. Fraggles.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. The RCMP actually even made an appearance.
I feel like I have this one on DVD. I have at least a couple of them on DVD. So I'll go through my DVDs to see what I have. But
we should do a combo app.
A combo episode. Yeah.
A combo app. Who
I like it. A combo app.
Who are we?
A combo app. We can do it. We can do it. Oh, Dan says this just in. Dan says that there's a movie coming by Friday of this week that I might want to consider. All right.
I've heard.
Sneak peek. This just in. Maybe Dan sent us a movie. We'll have to figure it out. And Dan, I do want to do A Christmas Story too at some point, but it is outside the scope of this podcast, so we'll have to just reference it.
We can still do it.
I mean, it's new.
I mean, what are rules if not to be broken?
That's like 8-Bit Christmas, which is one of my like newer favorites. I absolutely love it. Technically a 90s movie because it's about the 90s, but does not film in the 90s. So, you haven't seen 8-Bit Christmas?
8-bit as in like
Nat, yeah,
like
no, 8 the number 8-Bit Christmas is a movie about our childhood, and it stars Neil Patrick Harris. No, the premise. Nat, I'm very disappointed in you. I watched this literally on Christmas Day last year with my whole family because we were so excited by it.
What I watched last Christmas was that what's that one with Santa Hopper as Santa, and he just.
Oh yeah, I watched that one on Christmas Eve because we broke our tradition and moved Die Hard to New Year's Eve, if you remember. But no, 8. So write this down, Nat, so you remember. I'm going to harass you about it later. 8, the number 8-Bit Christmas. The premise of this movie, get ready. Are you excited? You need to be really excited by this. Neil Patrick Harris is recounting a story to his kids, two kids, about his childhood where it was the first year that Nintendo was released and everyone wanted a Nintendo for Christmas.
It does have a thing to do with pixelization.
Yeah. And they enter this like contest to try to win a Nintendo because none of their parents clearly are never going to buy them a Nintendo for Christmas. Yeah. And it's absolutely accurate to the experience of growing up in this decade, and it's so wonderfully done, and it's like nostalgic and perfect and awesome. And so Doc is just writing in Spirited is fantastic. I was going to watch that last year and didn't get to it. Yeah, I'll have to add that one.
It was Reynolds and
Farrell, yeah.
And singing, and it was great.
Yeah, that one's on my list.
I last year watched Violent Night.
That was it. Violent Night. Yeah, we watched that one. It's fantastic. It's up there.
That's up there with Die Hard.
It's like a newer Die Hard. It's not as good as Die Hard, but it's close. I liked it.
My brother and I cackled and enjoyed every second of that movie. My sister-in-law, poor thing, was like slightly like, "Why do you guys like this?"
It's
and
so
we're like,
good.
"This is the best."
In answer to Dan's question, 8-Bit Christmas is like a How I Met Your Mother for the holidays. Everyone needs to watch it. I feel like it was like under promoted, or it slipped through my radar and I was late to watching it, but it was so good.
It was lockdown, right? Like lockdown release. We missed a lot of really good movies during
It was
lockdown.
epic. It was.
What else?
Add it to your list. Add it to your list, everyone. All right. Well, we're over time, so we will wrap, but we will see you next week.
I apologize. My hair wasn't as big as I wanted it to be because Aquanet is like near impossible to find this decade. Yeah. I really need that hairspray, and my hair is too healthy to be so damaged as the 80s.
Yeah.
I really tried to go for Mrs. Griswold. But
you were close. I believed it. I like the outfit.
As fast as I can get my hair. I have a button cover, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Vintage.
I wore my Christmas sweater last week, so I'm not in it yet, but
I have more Christmas sweaters, which we should find shocking. Again, I secretly seem to be some sort of subconscious closet Christmas freak, but whatever. We'll unpack that, my psychology, another day.
It sounds good. All right. Well, we'll see everyone next week for A Christmas Story. So if you're catching up with us, be sure to check that one out. And we'll hopefully do a pop-up episode as well on some of those amazing kid shorter movies, which I think will be really fun. And if you haven't been to our site yet, swing on by. It's the VHS Club Pod at the VHSClubPod.com. You can email us at the VHSClubPod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your recommendations and thoughts for what we should do next. Bye, everyone.